phenomenon. The Prince of Clock. Another quick check of the traffic as we cross back to Jimmy Chopper in the Whip. Phenomenon. Really a waste of time. Honk. Hello, Emma. Well done, Ross. Just a touch of triviality. Thanks for joining us. But we won't mention the war. Gee, I hate this word.
23 minutes before 8. It is his last news telecast tonight. The legend, Mal Walden. Mal, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ross. Good morning, John.
How are you gonna get through tonight?
You
got
no
an hour
idea.
to get through.
I have no idea. I've just got the box of Kleenex handy and I'll just plod along.
Well, you're a phenomenon, aren't you?
Well, I can say it now. I can get it out.
This is your second farewell.
Yes, it is. 25 years ago.
But under happier circumstances.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the support that's come through. This is my choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's the amazing thing in television, where you can actually choose the date of your departure.
Yeah.
Normally you indicate that you're losing interest, and they not only show you the door, but they escort you through it. So
well,
this is great.
It's a great achievement, because they do say in this caper that it's not a question of whether, it's a question of when.
Yeah.
The boom is lowered, but you've chosen it yourself. What's been the biggest story of your time? Many would say Cyclone Tracy.
Yeah, Cyclone Tracy for one particular reason. I became a journalist by covering that. I went up as a cadet under the threat of losing my job if I didn't succeed, and came back as a qualified journalist. So that was, that's really what I look back as the story that established me as a journo.
In your business, that is journalism, is the prospect of getting the chop always something that's very close to you?
Well, I did get the chop back in 25 years ago.
Ironically, Mal, by Fairfax.
Exactly, yeah. And look what happened to them after that.
Yeah, you showed them.
Well, I didn't intend to, believe me. No, it's been a great ride. I've just enjoyed every single day. It's just fabulous. I've been very, very lucky.
What are you going to do now when you get up in the morning?
Oh, well, the first thing I'm going to do in retirement is watch a complete episode of Bold and the Beautiful. Because for the last 20 years, I've looked back. We have the monitor on the floor, and all we see is just two faces looking at each other in various semi-clad positions.
It doesn't get any better,
and then
I
it
tell
just
you.
gobsmacked and fades to black.
Are you going to open the bulletin tonight with a long, baleful stare of the Bold and Beautiful? That would be magnificent if you could.
Yeah.
I've got a theory about the news services that are delivered up to Melbourne audiences by the three commercial networks, that a lot of modern television is the reality television that tends towards that type. We are serviced by good, responsible, sober news services, don't you think?
Not necessarily sober news readers, but
No.
yes. Yeah, no, you're quite right. The standard here is of world class. I mean, you go to America, and it's very insular, their news.
Yeah.
At least we have a good, a smattering of international events. We get a broad, it's a postage-stamp view of events, but you get it.
The biggest story, as you say, you developed as a journalist with Cyclone Tracy. I guess the biggest story of your career is likely, I'm guessing, either to be 9/11 or Princess Di.
Princess Di, was a personal thing, because I had met Princess Di, and that really hurt. But Princess Di, we met at Government House, and I had just come back from a holiday with my wife and the two twins, and they had played havoc on the plane. I think they were 4 or 5 at the time. So when I met Princess Di, I asked her, I said, how do you manage to travel with 2 young children? And she said, oh, it's quite easy. I just dope them up with Finnegan. So I could hardly wait to get back home to tell my wife it's had the royal stamp of approval. We can give them a dose of Finnegan next time we travel.
Did you have an inspiration as a newsreader? I mean, your career is much more than just being a newsreader. Was there anyone whose particular style you liked?
As a newsreader, I admired all of them, and I've never tried to emulate any of them.
Yeah.
But the one guy that I think is the pinnacle of news reading and television news journalism is David Johnson, because he rose through the ranks. He was an award-winning reporter. He then became a news editor. He became a network news editor. Every role he played, he reached the top of. So if you were going to emulate anyone, it would be David Johnson. But, Brian Naylor was the consummate communicator. And, strangely enough, all three of us worked together on the same network for 10 years.
Do you have any association with other newsreaders? I mean, do you get together and have a bit of a chat? People like Peter Hitchener and Helen Kapelos, etc., who... I was just talking to John Anderson. I said, isn't it extraordinary? All those newsreader chaps that I've been talking about, they're all really lovely people.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to think we are. And the ones I've met have been fantastic. I was with Peter Hitchener the other night. We farewelled a mutual friend, Neil Miller, who's retiring as a producer. And we had long chats. We don't mix socially, except on, presentation nights and, opening of functions and things like that. But we all get on very well. We have a mutual respect for each other, and we have something in common, obviously.
Are you? You've come in here very soberly clad in a suit.
I've got a busy day.
Yes, without a tie on. Are you fully clad? It's not tracksuit pants under the.
Yeah. It's jeans most days. Jeans. I used to wear shorts in the summer, but it's so air conditioned that my knees used to freeze. So just casual.
And I guess one of the most enjoyable things about your role would be seeing young reporters come through the ranks.
Oh, yeah, and if in any way I can mentor or offer advice, I do. And in fact, when I look to the future, and I may well stay with 10 for another 12 months as a mentor, as a consultant. So that's something we're working on at the moment.
Do you get to your stage in your career where you're able to say no?
Yes.
That if Dermot O'Brien says, we're going to do this, that you get to say, no, we're not?
Look, I don't have editorial control. I have editorial input. Whether they listen to me or not's another thing. Yeah. But I do I put my 2 bobs worth in.
What's the biggest change in the time?
Change in television has to be technology. I mean, that is driving it. It's going faster and faster. But the 70s was the most defining decade of the lot, because the 70s was when satellites were making international news stories accessible instead of having to fly them in. What else has changed? In the 70s, we went from black and white to colour. We went from film to tape. And perhaps that was one of the most important changes, because we suddenly realised when we went from film to tape, we could repackage news stories and put twice as much information in by putting a little 10-second soundbite. So that 10-second soundbite became, a world-changing event. In fact, today, when you think of it, everything is in 10-second soundbite. Bumper stickers, slogans, political speeches, they all aim for that little 10-second soundbite. And that was a direct result of film to video and repackaging news stories.
Do you ever get a day where nothing's happened and you think, what the hell am I going to do for the next half hour?
Yeah, well, I've diarised my whole life. I've diarised every single day of my career, simply because I've got a shocking memory and I just jot things down. But when I look back on my on each year, there are quite a few days where I've had just written NFH. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Yeah. That's right. Which the reason that Private Eye invented those 2 legendary reporters, Phil Space and Polly Filler. Right. You're never going to get to 5 o'clock and say nothing happened. It has been a pleasure for us as viewers to have you deliver the news to us at 5 o'clock every evening, and I guess we should say it's fortunate for the network that you've got a natural successor too.
Oh, well, that's what this transitional year has done. It's allowed me to phase out and bring in Stephen Quartermain. And quite frankly, they couldn't have chosen a more suitable replacement.
Okay, now we're going to send you off with a list of demands. Right, we'll open with the long, baleful glare from the Bold and the Beautiful. Yeah. A purple tie, please.
I think I had a purple tie on Monday night.
Oh, did you? Right,
yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, when I go into work in the morning, all my suits and ties and shirts are all hanging up, labelled. Mal, Monday, Mal, Tuesday, whatever. Okay. The other day I was standing in a bank queue and a woman tapped me on the shoulder and she looked across at me and she said, "It's Mal, isn't it?" And I said, "That's right." She said, "It's Tuesday, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes." And I walked out with the thing still pinned to my under the jacket.
She'd gone home and told her husband, Mal Walden, "I know why he's retiring. He has to be reminded what day of the week it is."
And who he is.
Mal, good on you. You enjoy... Well, you're semi-retirement. You're going to be mentoring for 12 months.
I'm stepping down. I'm not retiring.
Yeah,
retiring's too final.
Yeah. Good luck with getting through that hour tonight.
Oh, thank you. I'll need a bit of that.
You're a champ. Mal Walden.